Hi, I'm Chuck Ainsworth, and I'm a results leader.
You're listening to ResultsLeader.fm. Being a thought leader is easy. Getting results is hard. This show is for the results leader who lives and dies by their results. Here is your host and chief results leader, Jonathan Rivera.
Yes, y'all. It's time once again for another ResultsLeader.fm. Welcome back. If you're new here, welcome. This is the only show on the internet dedicated to the men and women who are getting results for their clients. That's right. Ideas are worthless without execution. We are results leaders here. And today I have Mr. Chuck Ainsworth. He is an expert at leadership, culture, and communication. He is a very thoughtful fella, and we have an amazing discussion. Let's jump in. Chuck, my man, welcome to the show. Are you ready to rock this thing?
I was born ready, Jonathan. Let's do it.
All right. That's what I like to hear. Let's give our listeners a quick win. What book have you given most as a gift?
Yeah, that's actually an easy question for me. Far and away, it would be a book called The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer. And actually, I think it was 2 years ago, I ended up giving that to a lot of my extended family members for Christmas. And along the way, giving it to clients, friends, and probably hardly a week goes by where I'm not telling somebody about just sort of how influential it's been in my own life. I'm actually listening to it on audio for the third time just to tell you how significant it's been for me.
How's your family take that? Do they like being given books as gifts?
That's a great question. I need to check in with them and find out, get a little feedback loop going to find out. So usually I don't give gifts to my family. I don't usually give books to read, but this one's just been so valuable that I felt like, hey, I'm going to put it in their hands, even if they don't read it now, or maybe they never read it. I just feel like, hey, it's been a really powerful tool. It's been so helpful in my own life and development and journey that I just felt like it would be a missed opportunity unless I put it in their hands.
Well, that's very generous of you. I personally appreciate books, but when I give them to my family, they just look at me like, what is this?
I think that was probably mostly what they were thinking, if I'm honest.
Too good. But hey, you did your duty. So
exactly.
Let's go to story time. Can you tell us a story of how an apparent failure set you up for later success?
Yeah, the one that always comes to mind for me is at the age of 16, I dropped out of high school. And truth be told, I didn't go to much of ninth grade. Never been to a day of 11th or 12th grade to this day. And my mom said, well, you're not going to stay in bed all day. You're going to have to get a job. Thankfully, she knew somebody who was a contractor and got me a job as a construction helper, working midnight shift downtown DC. And I quickly figured out that I did not want to do hard labor for the rest of my life.
Quickly? How long is quickly?
That's a great question. Well, I do remember, I think I was making like $10 an hour at the time, and this would have been, 25 years ago. So I thought it was like great money. I think within 3 months, I knew that I definitely, probably even all along. I mean, truthfully, when I dropped out, I knew I had to cover up the fact that I was a dropout. In fact, I remember distinctly somebody saying, you can't even get a job at McDonald's if you have a GED. I don't know that that's true. It's probably incorrect. But it planted this seed of fear in me that like, I've got to do something to make up for this failure.
You did better than me. I did 9 years as an electrician before I was like, oh man, this ain't for me. Clearly I was dumb. You got it much quicker than me. So Kudos to you.
Thankfully, I ended up getting my GED. I signed up for 2 classes at community college. I got an A in one and a B in the other. And it completely changed the story I had about myself and about school and what I could and couldn't do. Ended up scrapping my way all the way through graduate school. And interestingly enough, I'm now a full-time coach and spend my days educating adults and working with organizations, essentially teaching leadership.
What was the difference there, though? I mean, you went to school, high school, what was it, not challenging you or what?
Yeah, I think that was it. It was the format, right? I think that I like to be moving around. Right now, I'm standing at a stand-up desk. I know you probably can't see me, but I'm at a stand-up desk. I've got to move. I need to be challenged. And so just the structure and pace of traditional school didn't work for me. But community college was a place where, for the most part, I think everybody that was there chose to be there. And you had more autonomy. You could choose which classes you took and which order and what time of the day. And that just opened something up for me. And the more school I did, actually, the more I loved it. And I had a very non-traditional path all the way through. So don't misread this. For example, I lived in Cambodia for a couple of years, did my graduate school in the Philippines. And so it was a very non-traditional path. And that's what I figured out. Like, I got to figure out my own path. It's not going to be the template model. It's not going to be the way most people do it. But if I break the rules and figure out what works for me, it can actually be invigorating and exciting. And that lit a fire under me.
No kidding. What would you say is the most worthwhile investment you've ever made?
What comes to mind for me is not a financial investment. It's an investment of time and feeding my mind almost daily. And so just literally probably at this point, thousands of hours of personal development, whether it's in the car, in the shower, while I'm cutting grass, listening to audiobooks, YouTube videos at times, CDs early on before we had the digital assets that we have now, but just feeding my mind high quality content about stuff that matters. And also, I'll tell you, kind of in my journey of that, it's about repetition. So I think I already mentioned, I'm listening to this particular book for the third time. It's not about like just trying to consume endless new ideas, new information, but like, what are the few areas that I really want to master? I don't want to be a dabbler, I want to master, and mastery requires repetition. So I'd say, yeah, it goes back to investing in, whether it's 10 or 20 minutes a day, feeding my mind high quality stuff.
How do you figure that out? You didn't do great in school. I'm right there with you. In high school, I didn't do great. I had to figure things out after school. How do you figure out that personal development angle if nobody's teaching you that?
It's probably just trial by error, right? Experimenting. I did a lot of experimenting. I actually, along the way, went to seminary for a semester and thought like, well, maybe that was interesting to me, and learned a lot, but realized, nope, that's not the path for me. And so changed direction. So there was multiple different paths that I took, tried different things. And I think at the end of the day, I was somehow in tune or smart enough to sort of listen to my heart. And if it didn't energize me at some level, that didn't mean that it wouldn't be challenging or hard at times, but I had to find what lit me up. And so for graduate school, for example, I remember I was thinking about going to get an MBA, and I would look at the courses and it just made my soul wither when I would think about taking, graduate level accounting courses in business. And I thought, I'm going to struggle so hard because math is not my forte. And then I remember I ended up doing a master's in organizational leadership. And I distinctly remember the moment that I looked at the list of classes and the titles, and then I clicked into it and I could see the required reading. And I realized that those were some of the books that I was already reading. And I was like, if I'll do it for free on my own time, like this just matches my interest. And so I think it's just trial and exposing yourself to different ideas and not being afraid to challenge status quo and try something different if it's not working for you.
In the last 5 years, what new belief, behavior, or habit has most improved your life?
Without a doubt, it's the focus on the inner game. So as a leadership coach, a lot of times organizations engage me to help their leaders with the external skills. How do I delegate more? How do I lead a team? How do I set vision and strategy? How do we achieve the next level of growth? It's all about the external goals, and those are important, and those strategies are helpful to understand. There is a science to achievement, and it's valuable to focus on those things. But most important, far and away, for me personally and my clients, is focusing on the inner game. Because, the reality is we can be wildly successful on the outside and miserable on the inside. And that would be the greatest miss.
Do your clients know they need that? Because, we're in sales. We got to sell what people want, and then we got to give them what they need. So you come in selling it, hey, we're going to scale your organization, but first we got to work on you. How do they take that?
Very rarely. No, I'm not sure I ever start there. Now, maybe if they've been exposed to me speaking or teaching or something somewhere, maybe they have a sense that I do pay attention to that, but that's not where we start. And I'm happy. I enjoy being able to meet people where they are. And so, if we need to start with strategy, or if we need to start by solving a problem because turnover has been an issue or lack of employee engagement or whatever it might be, like, let's start there. But I'm going to be looking for that window of opportunity to talk about how we got to do the inner work, not just the outer work, especially if we want to talk about sustainable success. So we can kind of fine tune things on the outside, and we need to do that. And that will get us hopefully the results and wins we want in the short term. But if we're going to sustain it, that's going to require us to do the inner game. So, for example, I would say typically it is, if I'm coaching a leader, it might be a 6-month engagement. It might not be until the last month where I really start to push them. We've now made the external changes and shifts that they need to make. And now I start planting the seed. Hey, the next level of growth is the inner game. If you're ready and if you're willing.
What are some bad recommendations you hear in your area of expertise?
Oh, gosh, I think probably the one that I have bumped into the most in the last year and struggle with a bit is like, you need to be an expert authority and you need to understand the algorithms and you got to understand social media. And to some degree, I think there's value in all of that. And yet I know, at least for me personally, I'll just tell you about my own journey and where I'm at on it. I've experimented with that. I've played with it. And at the end, I've come back to my goal is to have lifelong clients. And when I'm focused on adding value and creating lifelong clients, I don't have to do any marketing. If I'm just focusing on adding tremendous value to who's in front of me and to my known network, that multiplies itself and reaps benefits. For me personally, if I try to play I'm going to be an expert authority and, try to play the algorithm, to me, that's a shell game. And it's just not really what I'm interested in.
Now, there are people out there, and I think I've had some on the show, who have this idea that they want to empower the people they're working with and move on. And so you're saying lifelong clients. How do you balance that? I mean, I know you don't want them dependent on you.
Right. Yeah, I mean, most of these are large organizations, right? We might have 8,000 or 10,000 employees, maybe more. So it's not that I'm working with the same person every week, week in and week out. That would not be the case. But if I have a significant impact and am helpful to a leader, they know other leaders in the organization. They have teams who lead teams. And so cascading in the organization, doing different kinds of work, revisiting that team a year later, it's those sort of things. But I think that's a fair point. Yeah, it's not about creating dependency, but at least in the world of leadership development and coaching as I know it, it's about relationships. Like so many businesses, it's about relationships. And if I just focus on adding value to that relationship, it opens up doors of opportunity. And it's just a richer, more fulfilling experience. I just love the way that feels compared to me trying to play some algorithm with people that I don't know.
We interrupt your regularly scheduled program for a public service announcement. We're going to get right back into this show, but I wanted to ask you a question. If you have been listening to the show for any amount of time and you've picked up even one single tip, then I need your help. Get the word out. Tell people about resultsleader.fm. Share it on social media. Share it on your email. Share it anywhere. Hashtag resultsleaderfm. Now let's jump back into the interview. Let's talk about results. Why do results matter?
For me, it's a double-edged sword. On one hand, they absolutely matter because they're clues that we're on the right path. And yet I also know for me personally, I have to keep that in check because I am very results-oriented. I am very driven. In fact, that's one of my greatest strengths, and overplayed, it is one of my greatest weaknesses because I can be an animal chasing after results. And what we know, I mean, think about it. People with money, success, fame, movie stars, athletes who achieve everything, Olympic athletes, people end up hanging themselves because they thought that the goal was the outside stuff. And they achieve the goal, they get the house, they get the partner that they wanted, they have the kids, they got the car, and now what? And they don't know where to go. So it's a double-edged sword for me. Absolutely, success leaves clues. Results are fun to accomplish along the way. They are clues that I'm on the right path, but I can't make the result the destination. It's just a clue that I'm on the right path.
I so badly want to just go down that rabbit hole, but I'm having to filter myself here because that is powerful. All right, I'm going to allow us a little grace here to talk a little bit more about that. So I'm with you, right? We are achievers. That's why we're here together. That's why we're talking, and we work with achievers. And I've found the same thing is when I achieve my biggest goals, like I'm sitting in a house I dreamt about for 20 years.
Right.
And when I got it, I got depressed.
Exactly.
I got so sad. And so how do you rewire yourself so that it's not that? Well, I mean, can you give us an idea? I know it's a big process, internal process
And
of
what
work.
you just described is a predictable path. It happens all the time. I get to work with some of the most successful, smartest, brightest people on the planet now. And they get to the point where they're like, I have all the degrees, I have the title, I have the money, I have the house, and they don't even know how to articulate it, but they are miserable inside. And the shift then becomes to help them understand the inner game and to shift, like, what if your goal was contribution? How are you going to make your dent on this world? What if it's not about the house? I mean, the house is great along the way, right? And have some fun along the way. I love toys and hobbies and all of that. I love the experiences that my life has enabled. But at the end of the day, like, who am I contributing to? Where am I making a difference? What challenge on this planet am I willing to put my shoulder to and try to help make a difference? Like, it's that meaning, that deeper calling stuff, the inner game, that really, really matters. And asking questions like, am I being a great partner? Am I being a great dad? If I'm not being successful in those areas, I need to redefine my definition of success. And like you said, we just too easily get distracted thinking those external markers are it. And they're not. They're just little stops along the way. It's just a little exit ramp. I don't want to camp out at that exit ramp. I want to stop. I want to eat at that restaurant. Then I want to move on to what's next.
In the last 5 years, what new realization has helped you get better results for your clients?
I'm going to sound like a broken record here, but it's the inner game. It really is. It's that sustainable success. So, I mean, I do think, like anybody, the more you do something, the more you develop mastery. So can I help leaders delegate more effectively or set vision and strategy more quickly? Yeah, absolutely. Can I help them be better communicators? Yeah, better at those domains of expertise than I've ever been before. And so my clients are getting results quicker in that. But the real game changer is because of my own work and focusing on my own inner game, my own sort of vulnerability around that stuff and being honest about it, I'm able to help my clients along that same path.
What area of your business would you like better results?
Oh man, see, this is going to go all the way back to the beginning. I told you I dropped out of school. So my math is like awful. My dream, if I had a magic wand, Jonathan, I would have like the most awesome accountant. I had this brutal realization. You might think this is funny, brutal realization this year that hey, 50% of accountants are below average. Actually, that's true about dentists. It's true about podcasts. Mathematically, 50% of podcasts are below average, right?
Might be bigger than that.
And my question is, how do you know if your accountant or your accounting firm is in the top 10%? So yeah, if I had a magic wand, I would have a kick-ass accountant team to help us just manage that piece of the business, which I know is not my strength.
Well, I can make an intro to one that we finally found if it's helpful to you.
Hey, send it my way. Send it my way.
Finally found somebody that was on the team and being proactive.
Awesome.
But I'm with you, man. What results are you most proud of?
Two things come to mind. I think, on the professional side, it would be having built a team that my team would have told you previously that it was a special moment. We created something together that was amazing. We had the external results. We had tripled the size of the business. We had accomplished significant goals, launched new products, but the relationships and trust and sort of how our team worked together was just really, really special. So on the professional side, I would say that moment and that experience, absolutely, I'm proud of. But on the personal side, and at the end of the day, it's what I'm passing on to my kids. So I have a 9-year-old daughter, a 12-year-old son, and my son is just a sponge and at a fun time of life where he's doing all kinds of things. One of which is swimming. And he will never be a competitive swimmer, but he absolutely just loves the experience. We were at our citywide swim meet at the end of the season where all the different swim clubs get together and compete in this big event. And he helped one of his teammates, another kid, with his stroke and some of the technique. And that kid was able to shave 5 seconds off of his time. And my son was thrilled. And actually another parent texted me and said, hey, your son helped coach this kid and helped him shave 5 seconds. That was the focus. We didn't even know that my son had also set his own personal record. And I just love that moment of realizing that my son is getting lit up and what he's most excited about is his ability to impact others. not his own success. And if I can continue to pass that on to my kids, Jonathan, the rest of this is details.
That's powerful, especially at that young age.
Absolutely.
Any parting thoughts you'd like to share with the results leaders who are listening to us right now?
No, I think it'd be, in our busy, distracted world, I have to be as careful about this as anybody. It's so easy to when I need direction or I need encouragement, it's easy to go to my phone and to YouTube, the resources that are around us, to try to figure out the next idea for my business or my life. And I think sometimes what we need to do is be quiet, slow down, and apply what we already know. My guess is you and I have been exposed to enough at this point in our life. Probably many of our listeners have been exposed to enough at this point in their life that if we just did what we already know we need to do, it would change not only our careers and our businesses, but also our relationships in our lives. And so I think it's just a little bit of a reminder and a challenge to us not to just look for the next right idea, but to say, am I mastering the fundamentals that I already know have been given to me?
Powerful, man. I know our listeners are going to want more. Where can they get more from you?
Yeah, you can find me at epicrivers.com, EPICRIVERS, epicrivers.com. And you can find me on LinkedIn and Instagram under the same handle. And would love to connect with you there.
Excellent. Thank you so much. We'll have links in the show notes. We've been speaking with Chuck Ainsworth. Thank you, results leaders, for tuning in. Another one is in the can. That is a wrap for another edition of ResultsLeader.fm. If you are out there getting results for your clients and you want to be featured on the show, go to ResultsLeader.fm now and apply to be on the show. And if you love what you're hearing, share the show, give us a rating and review, do anything to help us get the message out there. Thought leadership is easy, but results leadership is hard. We'll catch you on the next one.
This is thepodcastfactory.com.